So that's just the thing.
Sessions.
We were talking about naming the podcast, and we
so
kind of defaulted back to studio sessions. I think a good name is typically a pretty minimal thing, but you can't be so minimal that you're like. But if you're trying to be ironic with your minimalism, it's not okay. It misses.
But we're going for a little bit more along the lines of literal versus figurative or something.
It's just we call this room the studio.
Yeah, the studio.
And we always, like in our conversations, like therapy sessions.
It's
so it's
like,
not like it was some brilliant
it's like coffee talk.
Yeah,
like
coffee
from
talk.
SNL
Exactly.
back in the day. We're having coffee and we're talking.
And we're talking. Yeah,
we're in the studio and we're.
I like. I don't know why, but I thought of like comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah,
it's like comedians. Like exactly what you're gonna get. Comedians, cars. They're probably gonna get coffee.
And when whoever, if Seinfeld came up with that or somebody else did, you went, "Yep, that's the title."
That's it. That's the title. And so I'm like,
I think part of me, like the old ego me, like wants our podcast to be something a little bit more poetic and mysterious.
Yeah.
But I think that's just bullshit.
I think like my secret recipe to titling things, and this is patented by the way, so nobody knows.
Nobody. He's going to have a Twitter thread later. It'll be a 10-part thread. So make sure you like and follow.
I always look at course available at
ebook will be available.
I always try to like put myself in my shoes 10 years from now, looking back and be like, am I going to think that's corny and like piece of shit, or am I going to not?
Right. And am I going to cringe?
Yeah. Like, am I going to cringe or am I not? And we came up with even coming up with the cover, right?
Yeah.
We're throwing ideas back and forth. I'm like, oh, I love this. Like, and it did look really cool.
It did.
But it's like, you were like, it's a little, and see, I'm caught up in like, I'm not looking for pretentiousness at that point. And like, that raises another question of like, is it pretentious if it's subconscious? Like, where do you draw that line?
Yeah.
Because I think you can't just think anything that you think is cool, but it's not directly
right. And
you can't just throw that out, right?
And so these were conversations I remember having in theater school, grad school, because people would make design choices that I wouldn't understand how it was connected to what we were making.
Yeah.
And so I would always ask this question, and I started to ask myself this, and this is what helped make me not title things obscure French phrases. Is this cool or is it connected?
Yeah.
And like when something's connected to Kill a Mockingbird, like you just know it when it's connected, or when it's some cool disconnected thing that a different part, like the not truth is coming up with.
Well, and sometimes even like you just use a phrase that I've used a lot. Is this cool or is it connected?
Yeah.
And I'll think about that when I'm writing sometimes. And sometimes I try to find things that aren't connected, but are cool. And then how can I connect it?
Yeah.
And
can I ham-fist it or
but
elegantly
not ham-fisted necessarily, but Punch Drunk Love, for example.
Yeah.
He had like 7 core ideas that came together to create this story. He's like, he's got a story about some pudding over here. He's got like he went to Hawaii for a girl.
Yep.
So he's got that story. And it's like, David Lynch has the thing where he's like, you want to film, write down, put in every idea you have, put it on a note card.
Yep.
And once you have 74 note cards, hang them up together and you've got a film.
Yep.
And you watch his films and it's brilliant because every scene is an idea. And then part of his absolute genius is he can make them feel connected.
Yeah.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the sunrise.